The Russians unexpectedly entered the Dnipropetrovsk region. Ukraine lost Toretsk today. Hello, this is the military briefing for January 7, 2025. Let's start with the Kupiansk direction. In the Barovsk section of the front, Russian forces advanced approximately 3.5 kilometers westward from the village of Lozovaya toward the settlement of Novaya Krugliakovka. This information is confirmed by objective control footage showing Russian armored vehicles moving in the area. As a result, more than 8.5 square kilometers of territory has come under Russian control. Simultaneously, in the Krasny Liman section, units of the 144th Motorized Rifle Division of the Russian Armed Forces advanced both north and south from the settlement of Ivanovka, capturing several Ukrainian armed forces strongholds on the western bank of the Klimovsky Ponds. This is confirmed by footage published by the Russian side showing assault groups in action in this area. Moving on to the Toretsk direction, Russian forward units have reached the western administrative borders of Toretsk, where they are currently clearing the last residential buildings. Additionally, Russian forces have approached the spoil heaps of mine number 12 and the Formika mine on the northern outskirts of the city. At the same time, Russian assault groups advanced in the single-story residential area northwest of the Avangard Stadium, further encircling the Toretsk mine and its adjacent spoil heaps from the west. Significant Russian advances in Toretsk have also been acknowledged by the pro-Ukrainian Deep State resource, which states that Russian forces are conducting assaults across the entire city. According to various estimates, 90 to 95% of Toretsk is now under Russian control, and this figure may reach 100% by the end of January. We will continue monitoring the situation. Next, the Pokrovsk direction. On the right flank, there are significant map adjustments favoring Russian forces in the area between the villages of Yelizavetovka, where heavy fighting with Ukrainian forces continues, and Vozdvijenka. Russian units have advanced approximately 1.5 kilometers toward Highway N32. This information is confirmed by objective control footage of combat operations in the area. Pro-Ukrainian sources report that this trend poses a significant threat to the Ukrainian armed forces, as the Russian army has been advancing continuously in this area for over a week. If Russian forces maintain their current pace, the N32 highway could soon be cut off, disrupting Ukrainian logistics between Pokrovsk to the west and Konstantinovka, Chasiv Yar and Toretsk to the east, a possibility we have discussed previously. Additionally, reports of active Russian assaults toward Baranovka continue to emerge, though there is still no ground confirmation. On the southern approaches to Pokrovsk and the left flank of the Pokrovsk direction, there are no visible changes. Now to the Kurakovo direction. On the northern flank, units of the 114th Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces have taken control of the settlement of Shevchenko. This is confirmed by footage released by the Russian side showing combat operations for the settlement, as well as the installation of the brigade's flag on one of the partially destroyed buildings in the village center. On the eastern flank, there are no visible changes. However, numerous videos show artillery strikes on Ukrainian positions in the settlement of Dakhnoye, indicating that Russian forces may be conducting artillery preparation for assaults that could begin in the coming days. On the southern flank, Russian troops are reported to have advanced up to 2 kilometers toward the settlement of Razliv. In the southern Donetsk direction, some sources report that Russian forces have expanded their control north of the settlement of Novy Komar, though there is no ground confirmation yet. No new information has been received regarding the situation around Velikaya Novoselka. As for the Kursk region, significant map adjustments in favor of Russian forces have occurred in the northern part of the Sudzha district. Reports indicate that Russian troops have regained control of the settlement of Ruskaya Porechnaya and have launched an assault on the neighboring village of Cherkasskaya Porechnaya, where Ukrainian units are putting up fierce resistance. Simultaneously, some sources report that Russian assault groups are actively attacking toward the village of Malaya Lokhnya from the settlement of Kruglenkaya. Additionally, Russian units are completing the clearing of the outskirts of the villages of Berdin and Novosotnitsky, where Ukrainian forces unsuccessfully attempted a counter-offensive 2 days ago. This information is confirmed by objective control footage showing unrestricted movement of Russian troops in the area. Kursk direction as of the evening of January 7th. The offensive of the Russian armed forces continues. As of the evening, units of the Russian army continue their offensive on the Sudzha salient across several locations, achieving notable successes. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces are experiencing a complete standstill in their counter-offensive operations today. All positions they had previously managed to occupy have now been retaken by Russian forces, forcing the UAF into heavy defensive battles and retreat. Here's where the Russian army is advancing. First, in Malaya Lochnia. Fighting has been ongoing since the morning. Russian units are attempting to push the UAF out of the settlement. If successful, UAF forces to the north will face two choices: fight in encirclement or surrender. At the moment, they still have the option to retreat. However, they are not withdrawing yet. Second, storming operations are underway in Cherkasskaya Porochnaya, which the Russian army is attempting to capture following their takeover of Russkaya Porochnaya and the Kositsa hamlet, which came under Russian control yesterday. If the Russian army succeeds here, it will force the UAF to retreat southward, exposing their entire northern supply route to Malaya Lochnia. This would undoubtedly result in significant logistical and operational challenges for the UAF in the near future. Third, Russian forces south of Sudzha have effectively completed the capture of the village of Makhnovka. This settlement is now essentially part of the Sudzha rural agglomeration, a cluster of villages around Sudzha that have merged into a continuous residential area. Securing this area is strategically important for the Russian army, as it will enable them to proceed with liberating the rest of the agglomeration, despite the challenges posed by muddy conditions, since the entire area is paved. In summary, the situation for the Ukrainian army in this region is no better than yesterday, likely even worse. On a separate note, US President-elect Donald Trump has blamed Joe Biden for the start of the special military operation due to Biden's unacceptable decision to grant Ukraine the opportunity to join NATO. You know, a big part of the problem is that for many, many years, long before Putin even said it, Russia was saying NATO should never interfere with Ukraine. They've been saying it's carved in stone, so to speak. At some point, Biden said, no, they should have the chance to join NATO. Well, that puts someone right on Russia's doorstep, and I can understand their feelings about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made during these negotiations. When I heard Biden's approach, I said, this will end in war. And it became a very bad war. It could escalate. This war could escalate and become much worse than it is now. Would Ukraine never have been allowed to join NATO? Well, I think that was always understood. In fact, I think there was a deal in place, and then Biden broke it. They had a deal that would have been good for Ukraine and everyone else, but Biden said, no, you should have the chance to join NATO.